Hi, everybody. My name is Elise Tretherick, and I'm the Director of Curation and Artist Relations here at Blackdove, where discovering and experiencing digital art is our top priority. Today, we are welcoming Rachel Wood, a former office worker turned global explorer in 2018. You sold everything to travel the world, armed just with a camera and amazing ambition. You're driven by this insatiable curiosity, and I can see you have a true lust and thirst for adventure. I know that I do, and I can see that in your photography. You're all over the world, and it's beautiful to see. Your artwork is just beautiful. You've earned this world wide acclaim. You've been curated by institutions like the MoMA, featured in prestigious venues, including like the New York City Times Square multiple times, I'm pretty sure. And sponsors like Timepieces, National Geographic have supported your presence at Art Basel in Miami, and your work has been in galleries in Rome and beyond your artistic success. You really become a prominent figure in the crypto world, speaking at LA Blockchain in Los Angeles, non-fungible conference in Libsyn, and NFT talent in Estonia. So you're using your platform, and I'm really excited to hear about this because doing good work is something that I want to share. You're an advocate for artists in the digital age, really excited about supporting new and emerging artists, and passionate about projects and initiatives like Timepieces 404 Foundation, Brunch by Fidel, and am I saying this right? Maloma Art?
Me amo art.
Miyama
It's like,
Art.
like
Beautiful.
my name is in Spanish.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm really excited to welcome you, excited to share these amazing questions and answers that we came up with, and just really looking forward to getting to know you as a person, not just an artist.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to share a little bit about myself because I think that is what Black Dove and Web3 and you guys as a team have been doing so well is really getting the artist out in front of their artwork because as an artist, I think I give value to my artwork. So it's
Yeah.
great to have this moment to speak up, but
Well, I'm happy to share a space that you feel comfortable to speak up in, and so is Black Dove. We love supporting emerging artists and artists that have just shown their artwork throughout this entire expansion of digital art and what we kind of see as art today. That's really changed in the last few years, which I think is an amazing and very different thing than we'd ever see happen. And I guess we'll probably just start from the beginning. You left your corporate job, picked up a camera, said bye, and I want to know what kind of inspired you to start this whole new life and this drastic change in self evolution.
yeah, so I get this question a lot, and sometimes I'm like, oh, it's like not really that interesting. But the more I travel, the more I realize that not many people will do this. And it kind of boggles
Yeah,
my mind because I had this office job. I was a travel specialist. I was working in an office. It paid well. I was able to pay off all my student debts with it within like 8 months. Um,
hmm.
but
Wow.
I was uh, I was helping other people travel, and I was helping a certain uh, tax range of people traveling. And to me,
Hmm.
where I have spent my entire life from when I was very, very little to now, doing volunteer work, humanitarian work, mission work, um, I I kind of looked at my life in this cubicle and these people that I was serving, and I realized that I had no meaning in my life. I didn't want the next 40, 50 years of it to be working for other people
Yeah,
when there was
totally.
so much to this world. I mean, yeah, so I've traveled a bit. I've ever since I was about 12, 13 years old, I've traveled internationally by myself. So I realized I didn't want to spend my adult years doing that. So I
Yeah.
quit. I had nothing holding me back. I had no responsibilities really to um, deal with. So I was really, really lucky in that regard.
That's great that you were able to just do that and live this passion and dream. And how do you feel like your heart feels and who you feel like as a person compared to who you felt like in that cubicle now?
I reflect on this a lot. I'm like, do people change? And I think ultimately our lives are just a pathway to becoming more of who we are, of
Yeah.
accepting who we are as adults and not trying to fit ourselves in these other boxes and becoming more comfortable with what we like and what we dislike. When I left that office job, I was young. I was like what, 22 or so? Or maybe I think I was 22.
Time
Um,
flies.
right? And so I was just like, well, I'm young. I have time to fail. Let's do this. So
Yeah.
I guess for me, it wasn't uh, a scary thing. It wasn't like nerve-wracking as if had like a whole career and community and
Hmm.
family and friends to leave. I was in a new city from after college. I was in Fort Collins, Colorado. I didn't really know that
Oh,
many
I love Fort
people.
Collins.
Right? It's so fun.
I love
It's
it.
so
It's
nice.
beautiful. Yeah, it is.
It was great, but I also
It's
just
great.
didn't feel comfortable just staying in one place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I pursued my heart because my body was telling me that I needed to be moving. I needed to keep doing what I love to do as I could because I have
Yeah.
my healthy body, I have time. I didn't really have a lot of funds, but you know, young people, we don't
We
feel
make
like we
do.
need it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more financial worry as I get older, and I was very, let's find out what I like, you know? And I think that that's great that you did that and took that time because so many of us are suffocated by society and family to be a certain way, or we won't be loved and accepted. And even though when we don't, may not be looking in, we're outwardly, acting that way and just trying not to think about, wow, I have other dreams, but what about all these other things? And people are feeling like that at really young ages, like 20 and 23. And I took time off right after college for like 3 or 4 years and tried out different things. And I'm really happy I did because I would be stuck in a lot of debt and, with school and things that I wouldn't want to do. So I think that that's more people should be allowed and feel comfortable with themselves to do that like you did, because you've really come out of your comfort zone, and that's what a lot of your art is about, coming out of that and trying something new and seeing something new and having a new experience, what I feel like is such an artistic mindset. And you weren't meant to be in that little square. You're you're meant to create these beautiful pieces of artwork and capture these moments in time. Um, and now you're working with, companies like Timepieces and products like Timepieces, which I think is just really interesting and beautiful, and National Geographic, and all of these sponsors that you have for Basil and are working with. So, how has your artistic vision and approach kind of changed as you've expanded outside of your comfort zones, as you left Fort Collins and then just kept growing? I'm sure your art's just grown into something that you never even expected.
So that's such a great question because it's something that a lot of artists think we don't do is like we just find a great sort of style or theme of artwork and then we repeat it and we do it.
Mhm.
But when you look at the kind of the artists that you admire, the people who have kind of stood the test of time, you see that they were constantly evolving within their artwork. And it's because most artists, we create for ourselves. For me, my art is an expression of my curiosity. I have so many questions about what it means to be human and how this world engages with each other and how people live and like how animals like interact with different species. And I think it's all
Yeah.
beautiful. So my curiosity really drives me to travel, and my travels inspire me to take photographs. Um, I I just wanted to like let people know that when I started photography, when I picked up that camera back in 2018, 2019, I really had not much experience. I had no formal education about photography, but I've always led my life where I thought, even if I can't do something, I know I can do it after I do it.
Totally.
And that's true with
Yeah.
basically everything. Like, we
Yeah.
don't know we can do something until after we do the thing. So,
Totally.
for me, I'm like, just because I haven't done it, just because my history or my past education doesn't set me up for this, doesn't mean I can't do it. So, travel under the belt. I got that down pat. So, how can I bring further depth to travel? How can I engage with the world in a way that bring something more to not just me and not just like Instagram reels, but like to other people. And
Yeah.
since grabbing that camera, since giving myself that time to explore and really learn about photography, it's it's taken a life of its own. It's been its own sort of parallel journey as I traverse to all 7 continents of the world. And it evolves. Like every place that I go to, every subject matter, every animal, every sort of project that I do, it all adds to my experience. Um, there's a okay, I'm side tangent. There's a really great quote by Ernest Hemingway,
Hmm.
and what was it? I think it was like, in order to write about life, first you must live it.
Yes,
And I love this
totally.
quote because it's the same with my artwork, it's the same with my travels. To
Yeah.
create meaningful works of art, I think we must live meaningful lives. And for me, that
I
means
love
finding my path and following my passions to all these remote places in the world because the more I live, the more I have to tell. And art and my photographs are really stories put into color, into shadows, into light. It's something I feel more comfortable with communicating than with words. So I think I kind of forgot your initial question, but there's that.
No, I think you answered it perfectly about, kind of expanding outside of our comfort zones, what gives you the passion to do that and how you feel like your artwork has changed through time. And just like writers, like you have to read to know how to write. You have to understand the workflow of a journey through a book. And I think that the same thing is so true of so many pieces of art. And I really appreciate you saying that. That was really beautifully said, and the excitement that you still have about that is beautiful. And I know a lot of things have changed in the art world, and you just exude this like really kind and exciting aura that I need more of that aura energy, for sure. And it's
I'm
wonderful to
sending it
see.
all to you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel it. When did you get into drone photography, compared to when you started shooting? How far into your line of work did you start doing that? Because they're beautiful, really, truly beautiful. And I'm like, do these even
Thank you.
exist? Do these places even exist on Earth? And it's crazy that they do.
Yeah, so I'm going to confess to you something. I traveled the world with a drone in my backpack for about 8 months before I even brought it out of its case.
Oh my God. Were you just nervous?
I was so nervous. You know, they have all these like drone horror stories of the drones like going crazy or crashing into people or, like collapsing. And
Yeah,
as someone who has to work for everything she has, I didn't have the luxury to just like be willy-nilly about my gear. I had to take care of it because that was my livelihood and I couldn't just replace it or have someone, replace it for me. So I just never brought it out. And I kick
it's okay.
myself because I went to so many places. I could have gotten some incredible stuff. But I I think I was in Peru,
Hmm.
and I was seeing someone in there. He was British, but he was leading photo expeditions in Peru, and he helped me a lot with just finding the confidence to explore with the camera. So beforehand, I was
Yes.
like reading up online. I was like, doing the rule of thirds, all that fun stuff. The color wheel, all of the
Hmm.
photography
Hmm.
theory that I could read. But what I learned in school was you got to learn the rules to break them. And my partner at the time, he really helped me push out of that sort of like, no, this is how you do things to, oh, I just need to keep exploring. I need to like lean into my curiosity of like, oh, what does
Yeah.
this place look like from above? Or what does this place
Yeah.
look like with a different focal length? Um, So I brought out the drone because of him. It was in the Andes Mountains, and I was breathless. Oh my goodness. It was like so
God.
thrilling to just throw it up there because up in the mountains there's not much to like crash into. Like there were no trees around us. So yeah, it was like pretty exciting. So I
Awesome.
personally love that way that the drone takes you to new heights in two ways. Um, but also it just gives you a freedom that I can't physically feel. It
Yeah.
plays
It's
into
like
that
flying.
curiosity and adventure. So yeah, flying would be great, but
Yeah,
not yet
this is as good
there.
as you can get.
Yeah.
That's that's awesome, and I'm so excited that you have that excitement about it and are able to take that out of the sky and look at those pictures and just say, wow, I can't believe that. This is what a bird sees. I love drone photography, especially truly artistic artwork like you do, beautiful locations that you visit. And I know that your photography has taken you all over the world. You said you were in Peru. Has there been a city that you felt really connected to or that kind of changed how you felt about your art or did your art in any kind of way?
Yeah, so it wasn't a city, but when I dropped my volcano abstract collection from Iceland, it helped me to fund my my travels to go to Australia, which was the final continent I had not been to yet.
Yeah.
And because of Web3 and my friends that I had been talking to for months, or maybe this was like for years at this point, um, online, as I was boarding my plane to Australia, my friend Intrepid Photo or Rob, he sent me
Hmm.
this like
Hmm.
really obscure news article from a local newspaper, and it was kind of like interesting what was happening. She's like, she had some photos, and I was like, oh, where is that? He's like, it's in the middle of Australia. I'm like, oh. So I landed. I was like, I'm gonna go there because, why not? And so
Yeah.
I rented a car and I was like, you want to go? And he's like, you are not gonna make it in that car. I was like,
Watch me.
oh, really? Hmm? He's like, come into my car. I have all the emergency gear. I have all the snorkels and the, four-wheel drive. We'll get there. So I hopped into a stranger's car and we drove to the furthest point you can get away from the ocean into the middle of Australia.
Wow.
And let me tell you, you go look at like Google Maps of Australia. It is
Yeah.
dry. It is like the driest place on earth. Like
Totally.
you like zoom in, it is just
Yeah.
desert. Um,
Yeah.
but because back in 2022 there was historic flooding happening. Like they were having more rain in a week than they would typically have in a year. Um,
Hmm.
some new life was springing up in the outbacks, in the driest place on
Wow.
earth. And so we had, doing what photographers do, we go onto Google Maps and we start pinning a bunch of things, being like, oh, we think this looks cool, or we think this looks cool, let's stop at this too.
Yeah.
Um, and oh my goodness. So as we were going out, there was this historic flooding happening. And, the water's like up to like my eye level in the car. I'm like, we're gonna die. The mud's like slowing us down and slipping us around. I did not think we would
Yeah.
make it. Like, there were times when we were like, we need to
Wow.
turn back. And we're like, we can't. Um,
This
but
is it.
every,
Forward or
yeah,
nowhere.
this is it. But, Rob, his great driving skills, I could not have made it out there. And when we did, when I threw up that drone finally at the place we thought was going to be epic, oh my gosh, like that, like I like cried. Um, because after about 10 meters, I was like, this is it. And that really took everything that I love doing, that exploration, that adventure, the off beaten track, but just like the spontaneous of this is what's happening in the world and I get to capture it right now. Um,
Yeah.
it was really, really special. And I was playing around because we were there. It took us so long to get out there. We were there for about like a couple of days. And so I went every sunrise, sunset in the middle of the day. I went out there and I was playing around and noticing the different colors and the light, and how it affected all the vegetation and ancient grasses that were blooming out there.
Wow.
I don't know if you can show it on your video, but if you just look on my
Yeah,
website,
totally.
I have some really unique photographs of the Australian outbacks or back channels that these are views that have not been seen in over 100 years. And me and Rob and we were one of a few people who were able to get out there during that flooding season. So
It
really
may be a
exciting.
one that I really liked.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Um,
Where would it be under? Oh God, I don't.
oh. Um, let me
There,
see if I
I
can
just got
see it.
overwhelmed by the ones on the bottom because I think they're just so colorful. They're just so
Yeah, so those
colorful.
those are mixed with what I saw in Australia. So
Ah,
some of them
wow,
are volcanic rock, about 16 million years old. I say they were painted with the colors of time because all of those colors were there. I just brought them out with like Photoshop. I didn't paint them in. It's like
wow,
lichen and erosion, and also
yeah,
using shadows and light because shadows means cooler tones and light means warmer tones. So when you play around with that as a photographer with your drone or your
hmm,
camera, you can actually get a little bit more depth in the color theory of each photograph. But the ones that
wow,
kind of look like petri dishes on my website at the bottom of the first page,
yeah,
uh,
yes.
that's what the landscape looked like. Like,
I
that's a
love.
landscape.
There's one that it's the last one on the third row. It's like iridescent, almost purples and blues and greens. It looks like it has a mountaintop at the top, like a ridge line you can see. Um, it's Struth. The Struth
Mhm.
piece is insane, absolutely insane,
Thank you.
wild. Wow. What an exciting life that you've lived in these 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, since 2019.
Gosh, I know with the NFT wave and the higher acceptance and collectability of digital art, it was just the perfect time to do that. And you were so involved, with the community, with the crypto community, W3, oh my God, Web3 community. And, this seems like a really natural extension and appreciation and technology for your artwork. Can you share us what like kind of drew you to that intersection between art and the blockchain in the first place and how your career's kind of grown largely through that community?
So, yeah, because I spend so much time outside and traveling, it makes being online not as exciting because, I like to say I don't dream a lot, I don't sleep a lot because why would I wake up from my life? But during COVID, things definitely shut down. And I was
Yeah.
online a lot. I was starting a company, a photography company in Oregon. It did pretty well. Um, but I kept missing travel and I kept missing that, connection to the greater world, people outside
Yeah.
of my bubble. Which was one. It was two cats. I didn't know anyone in my town because I had settled within Oregon, Portland, Oregon for
Hmm.
COVID, thinking, oh, it's only going to be, a couple weeks, so then I get to meet
Yeah.
friends and explore. Obviously, that didn't happen as quickly as I thought it would, but NFTs were something that my friends were getting into, and I'm a really small photographer. I'm no one big. I'm still figuring out and learning photography at the same time as I travel. Don't give me
Um,
that look. I am. Um,
well, okay.
but this is this
You've
is a
been in the
year.
MOMA with timepieces. You've been with
But this was
Christie's
before
now.
all of
Okay,
that.
okay, okay. I was like, you better not be talking about yourself like that right now. Don't you
I
even?
mean, I
I
still
got the
think
receipt.
I'm learning.
I think it's a
But,
constant evolution of learning. I
yeah,
think that's what's exciting.
yeah,
It's totally exciting about art. And yeah,
yeah. I mean, the moment you stop learning and you stop pushing your creativity, that's when you stop being an artist. That's when you stop creating. That's when you start copying
yeah,
yourself. And to me, that's the death of your artistry. But back then, back in 2021, I had only been doing photography for a year, so I really had not that much experience
sure.
or following or anything like that. And my friends are like, "Oh, get on, Web3 and like NFTs and blockchain." And I'm like, "What?" It made no sense to me. I was like, I'm not an influencer, so I probably can't sell anything, but I'm curious.
Surprise.
So, yeah.
You
So
are
I hopped
now.
on. Yep, I hopped on, and wow, the incredible just feeling of being a part of something new was like a new
Yeah,
horizon. And I'm going to be a whole Trekkie here, but it was like the final frontier. It's this. way of going
Yeah.
into space, into the interwebs, and
Yeah.
connecting in a way that was so much deeper than what I had before.
Hmm.
And so, you know, by like month one, I had been selling editions, and I was like, ah, people like my work. They're actually paying for it. And the empowerment that I got from Web3 still gets me up every day. I cannot
Awesome.
tell you how grateful I am for finding my community, for finding these opportunities, for even given the chance to be seen by MoMA or Timepiece or National Geographic curators. Like, it's something that not many people have the chance to in a normal, traditional sort of career. And kind of
Hmm.
like when I quit my office job, I quit the sort of typical grind and pray sort of method of photography business to try to create a new way of doing it, to show other people that there are alternative ways to become an artist and to have a sustainable career
Hmm.
within this new digital age.
And I think that's so important to have role models like you who are so passionate about Web3 and understand, the ownership that comes with it, transparency that comes with it, accessibility for artists. I know that there's still, issues with onboarding and offboarding funds in certain countries, but and the mass area really created a unity that there never was before. And in Twitter spaces, especially with photographers, it is the kindest community ever, and everybody's so supportive and just wants to see everybody's work, and just really exciting and lovely and kind. And when I first got into Web3, I felt the same way. I felt like this kind of feels like home. I didn't know what group I kind of belonged in because I like tech and I was an artist, and that same kind of, like, how do I meld these things together and rule them all? I'm kidding. But I loved the opportunity of accessibility, and it's really important, especially as for emerging artists to be able to have access. And I'd love to learn more about Artverse, which you founded. It really sounds intriguing, and how you're putting that passion into others, and leveraging technology to empower these artists to find new opportunities in their life.
Yeah, so Artverse kind of sprung up from like I had been in Twitter Web3 space for about, I think, 3 months at that point. And I know everyone's like, oh, 3 months, that's such a short time. But let me tell you, 3 months in Twitter, it
In the
feels like
Web3 world, that's three
years.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically 3 years. Like you're away for a weekend and you've missed like a whole year's worth of drama.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but
That's so funny.
I had I had sold my first one of one photograph to a collector, and the way my community had rallied behind me, had supported me and cheered me on to this, sale, I felt incredibly grateful. And I felt indebted to these people. I was like, how can I give something back? Um, One thing that's really lovely about Web3 and the mentality of artists and builders and collectors and, everyone, tech people who are in Web3 is that our art and our actions, they're either defined by the systems that are, in place already, or they're defined by how we defy those systems. And
Yeah.
I view all of us in Web3, especially as artists, as rebels. We're pioneers. We're going into a place where it's the Wild West and we can make anything happen. And so I was looking around and I was like, okay, so if I was a new person coming into Web3, where would I go? How can I find my community? How can I find my tribe of people? How can I find the support system where feels like I am supported the way I have been? And that's kind of when I came up with the idea of Artverse. So it's kind of like art in the metaverse, kind of play on words there. um, and it was a place to really connect artists and collectors in a way that uh, did something more than just exposure, because I don't think exposure really does anything besides make us into content creators, and content creators try to sell something to people. They're in a business that is so much different than what I like to think I do. Um,
Yeah.
Incredibly hard workers, but it is different fundamentally on why
Yeah.
we create what we do.
Totally.
So, Artverse, whew, it, it's it's a whole community of artists and collectors, and
Hmm.
degens, where we try to empower artists in finding their voices and getting education and in becoming more empowered to build a career in the arts in the digital age. So there's that phrase, teach a man to fish and he eats for his whole life. I have that same mindset. I think obviously I can give people money, but that doesn't help anyone. It does help in the short term of like feeling boistered and like people want your work. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But leveraging the blockchain technology to empower artists was kind of what Art First was about. So we did like virtual learning. I hooked artists up with like coaches so that they could get some like instant feedback with real life, opinions.
Yeah.
Um, there's community, there's networking, there was like showcasing. We did some like scavenger hunts within like online, and they won like NFTs. It was all like really fun. I had a newsletter. I tried to put so much value and like education into those newsletters. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I got a lot of great feedback from it. But because I am not like a huge like business person, finances kind of ran out, obviously, and like then the bear market happened and crypto crashed, and I tried to hold on for as long as possible, but I think it just like naturally faded out because we're growing in different ways, and I was able
Yeah.
to like leave my mark on those artists and like give them what I could as they went
Yeah.
forth. Very proud of what I did with them, with Artverse and for them.
Yeah.
And maybe someday it may revive itself in a new format. But it was a huge learning curve, and yeah, I'm just really proud that I did it because I didn't think I could, but I did. So
Of course you did. Get out of here. You're accomplishing all the goals and dreams. And Emily Dickinson said that she had a poem. I have it tattooed on me, but I won't show it. If you can save one heart from breaking, you shall not live in vain. If you can ease one life to aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin into its nest again, you shall not live in vain. And I kind of think of that poem. It may be first person, not second person, but I think of it as if you've helped one being to better itself and like energetically vibrate higher, then your life's been worth it. Like that's the purpose, to give the good, to create something new, to create life, even if it's not a plant in your hand. I mean, that's literally what it is. You're giving life to somebody that um, is looking for it and wants it and needs it. And that's really great that you did that. Even if you just help one person, I think there's just so much value in that, because truly one person changed the world and they can help 1,000 other people, and it's a legacy that you may never even know happened just by being you and being that good, gracious person, which I'm sure provided like so much value. And you're always so kind on social media and in Twitter space, and I think really empower people just by being who you are and sharing yourself as a person. And you bring a lot of kindness into spaces, which I really love. And I'm sure, others like Timepieces and MoMA and National Geographic, The Shed, Christie's, all these places, you're also selling, and they're selling you, and they want to show you and who you are. And I'm sure that they're really proud of having you as an artist, and just really honored to work with you. And I know you've been shown multiple times in Times Square. Like, it's the art and it's you. I feel like it's together, and you can't have one without the other. I feel like an art that I really love and appreciate emotionally, and like I know that you were there. And I think that's a really beautiful thing about photography in that moment, and you captured that for me to appreciate and live through. And it's beautiful. How do you feel like you want to go in your next journeys, or do you have any inspirational places that you're looking to go to soon? What's next for you?
Well, thank you for such nice things. I think it's something to be said that, like, yes, I've worked really hard for everything that I've been able to do in this space, but I definitely couldn't have done it without the incredible community that I have, with like my collectors, with my the fellow artists who are in the space who, mention my name for certain things, or who let me know about certain things, or or who've even collected from me. Like, it's I feel like I'm just like a pale shadow to the greatness that happens within the art community. And yes, it's not perfect. Yes, it's social media. And yes, right now things are kind of dramatic and slow and struggling. And there's a lot of like deeper feelings. But overall, I think my glasses are still rose tinted because to me, it's not just a network. It's not just people I
Hmm.
can take money away from. It's people who I can take along with me as I continue exploring this world. And I think that ultimately is why I am still here. Is obviously the people in the community, but it's also a way for me to tell the stories that I'm seeing.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's been really, really amazing to be obviously recognized and seen by these really big art houses. But I think what means more to me is being seen by my peers, and still being talked about, uh, and too, with kindness. Because, sometimes it's like, oh, maybe I'm not like that great, when imposter syndrome hits you. But then you're like, oh, but they've met me several times in real life. And they're still talking to me, so I guess I'm like an okay
I'm not so
person.
bad. Yeah.
But
That's sweet.
what's next? Your question was what's next? Well, just real quick, I was in a car accident in November. I lost everything. I have my health back, so that is really, really great, but it also means that I
Mm.
have no cameras. So that's been kind of a huge learning curve for me of like identity
Well,
crisis of like, who am I without my camera? Because my camera has been my compass around the world
yeah,
for the past years. Like, I'm the person
yeah.
who sleeps with her camera. Like, my camera is like next to me in my bed. Like it's an extension of me. It's kind of like people's phones. Like, to not have it was quite the life change. So what's next is trying to get that camera back, and that's what I'm really really indebted to like Black Dove for, is where I can take my photographs, and even though some of them have been minted or sold already, I can still find ways to monetize my work to kind of bring me back to a point where I can continue making some great work. So that's my immediate goal. But places that I would love to photograph, would be, uh, the rhinos in Borneo, in Bali.
Well,
I've been invited to go photograph and document Padu, which is the only baby rhino out there. He's kind of a
well,
miracle rhino. He's like a miracle baby. And they've invited me out there, but obviously it's going to take money and grants to get me out there. So that's kind of my sort of like midterm goal. Um,
nice.
I get midterm as in like the next couple of months.
No, yeah.
I'm talking Web3 timeframes here. Um, but I would love to get to Africa, like anywhere in Africa, see like the Great Migration out there during that, flooding events. Drone that out there as well.
Yeah,
But Norway, Greenland. I love cold places. I like being near ice. I'm basically a
me
penguin.
too.
Um, it's so
I
much
love it
better than
cold.
the humidity. Like here and where I'm
Truly.
at, whew, it's not cute.
I feel, yeah, I came from Florida and I just had
Oh my gosh.
one of our PR peoples in Dubai, and she said it's a 117 or something, and it
Oh my
was
God.
yeah, I moved to the mountains a few years ago because I couldn't deal with it anymore. Um what kind
Yeah,
of camera did you
smart.
have?
Smart move.
Thank you.
So I shoot Sony. I've
Okay.
shot on everything. I've done on Canon, on Nikon, Olympus,
Mm-hmm.
Fuji, all that. I love Sony. I love Sony. It was the 7R5. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And I typically, for the first few years of my career, I shot wide. I was shooting with the 12 to 24
Hmm.
millimeter lens, because, as a landscape photographer, it's always like wide. But lately, in the past several years, and even with the drones, I like shooting at the telephoto ranges. So over 100 millimeters. My favorite lens, and the lens that I've been shooting for the past, well, the previous year with, was the 200 to 600 millimeter Sony lens. It's a bazooka lens. It's very heavy. It takes up my entire length of my back. Um, but
Wow,
that's the only lens I really like to shoot with.
impressive.
I shoot portraits, wildlife,
Hold on.
landscape. Yeah. I have to like brace my arm against my body to even like
Oh my
stabilize it.
gosh.
Um,
A bazooka.
Everyone looks at me, they're like, "What? What is she doing?" And I'm like, "Don't judge me." But
I'm
that's
making
kind of
art,
like where I
people.
go. Exactly. It's like whatever.
This is
But
my paintbrush. Get away.
exactly. So yeah, I love shooting at those telephotos ranges. I think it adds a different dimension to how I view the world. It clicks a little bit more with how I want to express all of these things that I
Yeah.
see. So that's just kind of like the setup I would like to get back eventually. So it's one camera, one lens. It doesn't sound like much, but when you look at the price tags of these things, there it's a lot.
They are. Bought quite a few cameras, and they're not cheap. And I definitely want to share, that you have this need for the camera, and I would love to be able to try to get you a new camera because wow, I'm sorry that you're going through that right now, and I know we both know it's not going to be permanent, but it still sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like 10 months since it's happened.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it is just like,
I know that we've talked a lot about, like I've mentioned numerous times, highlights in Christie's and MoMA, the Shed, timepieces, and Times Square. What do you think was kind of a defining event for you? When were you like, I think I made it. I think this is the dream right now. I'm living in the dream.
oh my gosh. Okay, so I think my best has yet to come. I don't think I've made it yet. And actually, total side tangent for like 60 seconds. Someone DM'd me and they're like, Rachel, you don't need to be trying so hard. You've already made it. And I kind of I had to step away because I felt such anger at this. I was like,
Yeah,
what are you
sure.
talking about? I'm not making it. Like, this is a bear market. I need to keep going. I need to push harder. Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
But I had to step back because I had to be like, okay, how are people perceiving me online? And I took it as a learning moment because from the outside world, from external and what I share to my highlight reels,
hmm,
I am making it. I have an incredible life, but it's still something that is not yet sustainable where I can just like sleep on a beach and not worry about things. I still
yeah,
work really hard. I still work, 12, 15, 16-hour days at a time, for myself and for other people. And
yeah,
that's okay because I'm still living the life that I want to live. I'm still traveling. I'm still connecting and supporting other artists and having fun. And I think ultimately that's a success in my book. But I
truly.
guess a moment when I was like, wow, I made it. um, I'll just throw it back to the first time. So I love penguins. I had gone to Antarctica back in 2020, and it's the first time I had photographed any sort of wildlife, and I fell in love with all of the little waddle fuzzy friends down there.
Yeah.
Well, feathered friends. And so as I got into Web3, I was like, what makes me special against all of these crazy, insane, incredibly talented photographers online? I was like, penguins. I like them. They're not the best, but who else has photographs of penguins from Antarctica? So here you go. I released an edition of these two penguins holding fins with a rainbow behind
Mm,
them, and it sold within hours. And to me, that was like the most confounding, validating, supporting, and love fest
Mm.
moment ever. I still remember just like kind of screaming at my computer of like, ah, someone else collected it. Like,
That's
like
awesome.
and no one's going to forget their first time they sell something,
Totally.
especially like within the Web3 like NFT space. No one's going to forget their first time. And
Yeah.
for me, that really sparked a fire that still blazes within me of chasing that feeling for myself of, you know, having made something that someone values enough to pay money for, but also having that experience in other people and other artists,
Yeah.
because I think that is empowering. I've said this quite a bit, but Web3 is empowering to artists, not just because of royalties or because of the technology, but because of what happens within the communities of Web3. It's empowering. It helped me find my voice. It's helped me
Hmm.
travel. It's helped me live despite, not being able to take photographs for the past several months. Um, it has empowered me to keep going and to really step into my love of photography and
Yeah.
art. So to me, that moment of selling my first edition, even if it had taken a week, but selling it within a few hours, that was pivotal. Truly, truly profound.
Where did you sell it? What marketplace?
It was OpenSea.
Heck
It was,
yeah.
oh my goodness, it was like back in the day when you had to like hack the link and like add like the dash supply and
Oh
then
man.
reload because like, all of that fun stuff. But
Hmm.
oh
That's
gosh,
wonderful.
it was so
What a
much
wonderful
fun.
memory.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. That's really beautiful. I remember a NFT conference 2 years ago. I really love this little artist. I think her name was Kit Kat. She's a one of the younger NFT artists, and I just loved her work. She'd do like little cats, and at the kids NFT magazine table, she had like little cat
Oh my.
ears that I would get, and saw her at a few events, and then she was selling a piece of art, and or she wasn't even selling it. She was just there giving some things away at a booth. And I said, how much is that? Has she sold anything? And they're like, well, we haven't really been selling things. Not that they were trying to sell, they were just coming in to meet her and say hi. And I said, how much is that one? And they were like, no, $30. And I gave her $100. And just because I wanted her to remember, like, it was a print, but it was still, like a piece of artwork that she did. And her family was really supportive and they were just really kind. And I just wanted her to remember, like, somebody paid $100 for my first artwork, like I just wanted
Oh,
her to have that memory. And I think that that's such a pivotal, like, moment in an artist's life, and really can change the course of their life. Obviously, it has yours because you just kept on going and have been featured in such amazing places and sponsored to go to Art Basel. And there's a lot of artists out there, and to be chosen, it's really impressive, and you should be really proud of yourself. And it's been just a lovely time talking with you, and we're going to get you that camera. You got to get a camera, so I'm going to find a way to get you a camera. And I want to see more of your work.
no, thank you, thank you. Oh, oh, oh! Did you see that?
What? Let me do it. Let me try. Is it gonna do it? Is it gonna do
Well,
it?
now you know.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just
Wow.
sending hearts
Times they
everywhere.
be a changing. I know. I'm just gonna do that at a random time of an interview when it's really serious and just go like, will it do it? Oh, it's
Yes.
doing it again. I feel magical and empowered. It couldn't be a better way to end the interview. And
Oh my gosh,
you know,
that's
I'm
amazing.
I'm really happy that you came on to Black Dove. We're really passionate about empowering artists in a time where like NFTs kind of may be down. Have been around since before NFTs. Really believe in not only selling NFTs but the licensing model and subscription model where you're able to, earn different kinds of revenue that are sustainable, where you're getting money for people just playing their art on the canvas, because we divide 20% of our subscription fees and divide them into all artists that get views. So without your artwork being sold, it's still, good to get that. And you're actually one of the first photographers that, we brought onto the platform, and we're looking to expand that. And people have just constantly, yes, asked for more photography, and these still works because they're so valid and beautiful and deserve, a space in a very accessible digital art world. Well, I really appreciate all the time that you spent with us today and being so open and just sharing all of that information and the stories that you had, and really just beautiful words that you had to say, especially to emerging artists and people in the game that want to keep doing their art in this market. And a lot of things are going to change in the next 2 years. So digital art is becoming more mainstream, and we're excited to be on that ride and working with you to create larger audiences for your artwork to be appreciated. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been an absolute joy to talk with you, and I look forward to our partnership with Black Dove, um, and just being able to get my story out there. I do think that as an artist, I give my art meaning and value, and it's kind of like Web3. Art is just about breaking boundaries. It's not about conforming to them. So for all those emerging artists who are not happy with how things are, know that if you want something done, or you feel like there should be something different, Web3 is the place to build. Web3 is the place to come and connect with people who can help you and share your vision for a better future. So let's create
Totally
some
agree.
magic.
I
Yeah.
totally agree. It's I know it's a weird word to say these days. I feel weird saying it, like a breeding ground for creativity, expansion, and community. It really is. It's just
Yeah.
endless, and so much kindness and sharing and reciprocal purchasing of each other's works. And it's just this beautiful way that we all grow together. So I'm excited to see more things happen in it, and it just continue to grow over time, and watch your, journey continue. So I can't wait to see what you come up with next. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Bye.